Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into something that is absolutely fascinating, the exact point where ancient inner technologies completely collide with modern neuroscience. Have you ever wondered how the mystical, spiritual experiences of the past actually map onto the literal hard biology of your body today? Well, you are definitely in the right place. Okay, let's kick things off with this profound transmission directly from our source material. The text frames this knowledge as a sort of transmission from a mythic dragon to a practitioner who has over 55 years of experience. But here is the massive, game-changing paradigm shift we need to establish right up front. The dragon insists that everything we're about to look at is literal. It's not symbolic. We are not talking about poetic, flowery metaphors for just feeling good. We are talking about your actual physical nervous system. So think about this for a second. What if those ancient mystics and today's leading neuroscientists were literally drawing the exact same map of the human body? What if those ancient traditions were actually handing us a literal biological operating manual for our own inner cosmos? That's the rabbit hole we're going down today. All right, let's jump right into Section 1, Ancient Maps, Modern Science, the bridge between worlds.
This is where it gets really cool, and it's basically our core thesis in action. For centuries, ancient mystics mapped out these energy channels called nadis, right? Well, today, science studies the electrical conductive properties of fascia. Mystics mapped out chakras, science maps out major nerve plexuses. That ancient inner fire the yogis talked about, it maps perfectly onto what modern biologists call brown fat thermogenesis. These ancient concepts simply weren't metaphors. They were direct internal perceptions of the quantum field felt right through the human nervous system. Science is really just finally catching up to the map.
When you look at the traditional subtle energy body, the chakras perfectly aligning up the spine and those glowing auras, and then compare it to the physical layout of our vagus nerve and our internal biological systems, the mirroring is undeniable. They reflect each other perfectly because, well, they are the exact same system. We're just looking at them through two different lenses, direct inner experience versus modern anatomical measurement. Which brings us to Section 2, the 5 inner senses, direct perception of the quantum field. Now, these 5 inner senses, they aren't just mere visualizations you have to somehow strain your brain to imagine. No way. They are your nervous system's actual, direct sensory experiences. It's that really soft radiance you might notice right behind your closed eyes. It's that subtle primordial hum or ringing in your ears, a literal sweetness of alignment in the back of your throat, the silent pulse of the inner world, and finally, the overarching watcher, inner presence literally recognizing itself. To actually experience this for yourself, our source material basically acts as a direct user manual. Take the inner light, for example. You just close your eyes, withdraw your attention from the busy outside world, and rest your awareness right behind your forehead. The trick is, you aren't trying to imagine a light. You're just noticing the subtle glow that is already sitting right there. Over time, the text says, the practitioner just lets it expand until they're fully enveloped in this amazing force field of light. And the exact same pragmatic approach applies to the inner sound. You sit in silence, and you just listen inward. You follow that subtle ringing, that primordial hum that literally underlies all of creation. You don't try to create the sound, you're just tuning your nervous system into it, letting it become a steady current that flows right through you. Okay, let's map this out a bit more in Section 3. Anatomy of the energy body, mapping the inner cosmos. Right at the very core of this whole anatomy is the central channel, known as Sushumna in yoga or the axis mundi in shamanic cosmology. It is the luminous spine of consciousness. It's essentially the literal access through which the infinite enters the finite. And scientifically, it is perfectly mirrored by your cerebrospinal fluid column and the vagus nerve's vertical coherence running straight up your spine. It's pretty incredible. Now, alongside that central vertical axis, we have something called the orbit. Think of it as an internal sun making its eternal circuit. It flows up the spine, over the crown of the head, and right down the front of the body. Mystics called it the microcosmic orbit. Modern science, on the other hand, recognizes this exact pathway as vagal afferent and efferent loops, along with an incredibly powerful electromagnetic toroidal flow. It's this continuous circulation of life force that keeps your whole system in sync. When you pull all of this together, the central channel, the chakras, the orbit, and the aura, they form one completely unified system. It brilliantly illustrates a crucial takeaway from all this. Your physical body is not separate from the quantum field. Actually, your body is the field made visible. You are a living, breathing conduit of awareness. Moving right along to Section 4, Ignition and the Heart, Awakening the Field. First up, we have to talk about the heart. Our source text is super emphatic about this. Your heart is not just a biological pump for blood. It is a massive field generator. In fact, science confirms that the heart produces the absolute strongest electromagnetic field in the human body. It extends 3 to 6 feet in every direction in this big toroidal donut-like shape. Achieving emotional coherence in the heart literally stabilizes your entire nervous system and kicks off measurable gamma wave bursts. And then we have the ignition. Think about the ancient mystical awakening of the inner fire, what was known as Kundalini or the dragon's breath. Well, its modern biological counterpart is just as wild. That intense, purifying heat rising from the base of the spine maps directly onto mitochondrial activation and brown fat thermogenesis. It's the physical awakening of the field right inside of you. So how in the world do you manage a system this powerful? Well, through your breath. But the text gives a really clear warning. Pranayama is not just casual breath work. It is literal nervous system engineering. By using a very specific rhythmic pattern like inhaling for 4 counts, holding for 4, exhaling for 6, and resting for 2, you are actively entraining your biology to match the exact frequency of the quantum field. You're physically stabilizing that orbit we talked about. Finally, we arrive at Section 5, Dissolving into the Field, the wave returning to the ocean. If we map out this progression, it forms this incredibly beautiful timeline. It starts simply, with the boundaries of your physical body just softening as you relax. Then, that internal orbit of energy dissolves into pure stillness. From there, the central channel becomes a solid beam of coherence. The crown opens, and finally, the seeker's identity completely melts into the field. But the text makes sure to clarify, this isn't annihilation. It's just the end of the seeker, leaving only boundless, centerless awareness. It's literally just the wave returning to the ocean. And that leads us to this absolute mic drop realization from the dragon. You are not becoming the field. You are remembering you have always been the field. Modern science calls this state default mode network deactivation, or unified field perception. But the ancients, in their profound wisdom, they simply called it coming home. Ultimately, all the tools, the diagrams, the fascinating neurobiology we've discussed today, they aren't the truth themselves. They are purely mirrors reflecting the truth of your own being. So, as we wrap up this explainer on the inner cosmos, I want to leave you with the dragon's final echoing transmission to carry into your own life. Are you ready to walk as the one who remembers?